Welcome to War Heroes, the channel dedicated to honoring the extraordinary men and women who dedicated their lives to the fight for freedom, often paying the ultimate price for the principles we hold dear. We believe that the true measure of a society lies in the stories of its heroes, those who faced impossible odds and emerged not just victorious, but transformed. If you value these narratives of courage, sacrifice, and resilience, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment below, and subscribe to War Heroes so you never miss a chapter in the history of valor. In 1945, amidst the rugged, unforgiving mountains of Italy, a young American soldier faced a literal hell on earth. He was struck by enemy fire, yet he kept moving. He lost his arm in the heat of battle, yet he refused to stop. In the most brutal, defining moment of his life, he uttered a single, defiant phrase that would echo through the halls of history for decades. A phrase that defined not just his own courage, but the enduring spirit of a nation. In the fictional universe of Marvel, we know the tragic and compelling story of Bucky Barnes, a man who lost his arm in combat and was subsequently transformed into the Winter Soldier, a living weapon of war. But the story we are about to tell today is not fiction. It is the true, raw, and deeply human account of a hero who lost his arm. But instead of becoming a weapon, he became a voice, a powerful, unwavering voice that would command the United States Congress for nearly half a century. This is the saga of Daniel Inouye, and this is the story of how a Japanese American, who fought against both the crushing weight of domestic prejudice and the brutal might of the Axis powers, rose to become one of the most influential and respected figures in American political history. Daniel Inouye was born in 1924 in the vibrant, sun-drenched city of Honolulu, Hawaii. He grew up in a community where the values of hard work, loyalty, and American patriotism were deeply ingrained. Yet his Japanese ancestry meant that full acceptance was a constant, uphill battle. He was a promising pre-med student, diligently pursuing a future in medicine, until the world he knew was violently shattered on the morning of the 7th of December 1941. Inouye was only 17 years old, standing at a barbershop when the sky above him filled with the terrifying roar of Japanese warplanes. He rushed immediately to a Red Cross aid station, where he spent the day tending to the wounded and witnessing the sheer, indiscriminate devastation of the attack on Pearl Harbor. That day ignited an unquenchable desire to serve his country, a desire that was tragically complicated by the color of his skin and the shape of his eyes. For Inouye and thousands of other Nisei second-generation Japanese Americans, the path to military service was blocked by fear, suspicion, and outright racism. In a dark chapter of American history, the government classified citizens of Japanese descent as enemy aliens, leading to the forced internment of over 120,000 people in desolate camps across the mainland. Inouye and his peers were initially denied the right to fight, a profound insult to their loyalty. Yet, their relentless pressure and unwavering patriotism eventually led the U.S. Army to form the 442nd Regimental Combat Team in 1943. This was a unit composed almost entirely of Japanese Americans, a segregated force that had to prove its loyalty not just to the enemy, but to its own country. They adopted a motto that perfectly encapsulated their desperate all-or-nothing mission: go for broke. Inouye, driven by a fierce sense of duty and a need to shatter the stereotypes of disloyalty, immediately enlisted. The 442nd was deployed to the European theater, where they quickly earned a reputation for ferocity and utter disregard for their own safety. They were often thrown into the most desperate and brutal fighting, as if the military command was testing their loyalty with every impossible mission. Their valor was undeniable. One of their most famous actions, before Inouye's own defining moment, was the harrowing rescue of the lost battalion in the forests of France. A Texas unit, the 1st Battalion of the 141st Infantry, had been surrounded and cut off by German forces. For days, other units had failed to reach them. The 442nd was ordered to break through. In 5 days of relentless, bloody combat, the Nice soldiers suffered over 800 casualties, more than 3 times the number of men they rescued, but they broke the German lines and saved the Texans. This single action cemented the 442nd status as one of the most decorated units in American history, a testament to the loyalty they were forced to prove. Inouye's own defining moment came later, in April 1945, as the war in Europe was drawing to a close. The fighting in Italy was concentrated around the formidable Gothic Line, the final, heavily fortified German defensive position in the mountains. On April 21st, the then Second Lieutenant Inouye was leading his platoon in a desperate assault on a strategic ridge near San Terenzo Monte. 3 German machine gun nests were positioned to deliver a devastating crossfire, pinning down his entire company. Inouye, realizing the stalemate would cost countless lives, decided to take on the nests himself. As he began his advance, a German bullet struck him in the stomach. It was a severe, debilitating wound, but Inouye, driven by adrenaline and sheer will, ignored the pain, continued his crawl, and successfully destroyed the first 2 machine gun nests with grenades and rifle fire. Only the 3rd bunker remained, and Inouye, bleeding profusely, closed the distance, preparing to launch his final grenade. It was then that the German soldier inside fired a rifle grenade directly at him. The projectile struck Inouye squarely in the right elbow. The force of the impact was so tremendous that it shattered his arm, effectively amputating it on the spot. The grenade itself did not detonate, but in a bizarre and terrifying twist of fate, the involuntary muscle reflex of his dying arm caused his hand to clench tightly around the live American grenade he was preparing to throw. Inouye was now lying in the dirt, under fire, with his right arm dangling by a few tendons, and a live explosive clutched in his severed hand. He was in excruciating pain, yet his mind remained focused on the threat to his men. He screamed at his approaching comrades to stay back, knowing that if he lost consciousness, the grenade would drop and kill them all. With a superhuman effort, Inouye used his left hand to pry the live grenade from his own mutilated right hand. He then hurled it into the German bunker, silencing the final threat. But even this was not the end. Stumbling to his feet, he picked up his Thompson submachine gun with his left hand and continued to advance, killing at least 1 more German before a final 5th bullet struck him in the leg, finally forcing him to collapse. As his men rushed to his side, terrified by the sight of their commander, Inouye's only conscious words were a gruff, unforgettable command. Nobody called off the war. The ridge was secured, and Inouye's platoon suffered no further casualties. He was rushed to a field hospital, where the remainder of his arm was amputated. Due to the excessive morphine he had already been given, the surgeons were forced to perform the procedure without full anesthesia, a final, agonizing price for his heroism. The physical and psychological recovery was immense. Inouye had to relearn everything with one arm, from tying his shoes to writing. He used the G.I. Bill to pursue his education, earning a law degree from George Washington University. He could have chosen a quiet, comfortable life as a successful lawyer in Hawaii, but the war had taught him that service to his country was a lifelong commitment. In 1959, when Hawaii achieved statehood, Daniel Inouye was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. Just 3 years later, in 1962, he was elected to the Senate. This marked the beginning of a political career that would last nearly half a century, a testament to his resilience and the trust he commanded. Inouye's political ascent was meteoric and unprecedented. He never lost an election in his entire 58-year career as an elected official. In the Senate, he became a master of strategy and a quiet, formidable power broker. He was a key member of the Senate Select Committee on Presidential Campaign Activities, better known as the Watergate Committee, where his calm, probing questions helped expose the corruption at the highest levels of government. Later, he chaired the Iran-Contra Committee, once again placing him at the center of a national crisis. These roles established him as a figure of immense integrity and influence, a man who had literally paid the price for democracy. His true power, however, lay in his long tenure on the Senate Appropriations Committee. This committee controls the federal budget, the power of the purse. Inouye eventually rose to become the committee's chairman, a position that made him one of the 3 or 4 most powerful people in Washington. He was the ultimate insider, the man who knew where every dollar went and how every deal was made. He served under 9 different presidents, from John F. Kennedy to Barack Obama, acting as the ultimate strategist and coordinator, the Nick Fury of the American political system. In 2010, he achieved the highest political honor of his career, becoming President pro tempore of the Senate, placing him 3rd in the line of presidential succession. The young Inouye, who was once deemed an enemy alien, was now just 2 steps away from the presidency. In 2000, more than 50 years after the grenade incident, Daniel Inouye finally received the Medal of Honor, the nation's highest military decoration, a long overdue recognition of his heroism. The story of Daniel Inouye is a powerful counter-narrative to the fictional Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes lost his arm and became a legend of fiction, a symbol of trauma and control. Daniel Inouye lost his arm and became a legend of reality, a symbol of resilience, integrity, and political power. He did not need a bionic arm made of vibranium. He used the strength of his conviction, the resilience of his spirit, and the quiet, formidable power of a true statesman to serve his nation. He taught us that the deepest wounds can be transformed into the greatest sources of strength, and that true heroism is not just about winning battles, but about dedicating a lifetime to the principles for which those battles were fought. Daniel Inouye passed away in 2012 at the age of 88, buried with full honors, not just as a war hero, but as one of the most consequential Americans of his generation. His life remains an enduring testament to the fact that even when the world tries to call off the war, a true hero never stops fighting for what is right. Which other war hero do you think has a story that rivals Daniel Inouye? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this incredible story of courage and power, don't forget to like and subscribe to War Heroes for more tales of sacrifice and legendary figures.